Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down the absolute marvel of engineering that you carry around every single day, the incredible biological machine that is the human body. We're going to zoom all the way in to look at the microscopic pull of proteins, and then pan all the way out to examine the solid framework of the 206 bones keeping you upright. It's an absolutely fascinating biological journey, and I am thrilled to be your guide.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 5 key stops: movement versus locomotion, inside the muscle machine, how muscles actually contract, the 206 bone framework, and finally, joints, where bones meet.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, movement versus locomotion. Are they the same? We're starting with a really fundamental biological concept here. It might seem completely obvious at first glance, but there is actually a profound difference between simply moving your body and actually locomoting from point A to point B.
Let me ask you a question. Is every single movement you make considered locomotion? Think about standing in place and doing a stationary dance move, like a ta-ta-ta-ya. Your arms are flailing, your head is bobbing around, your torso is twisting. You are definitely moving, right? But are you locomoting?
Well, here's the golden rule. All locomotion is movement, but not all movements are locomotion. Movement is simply a change in your posture, or the action of specific parts. For instance, think about the white blood cells moving like little amoebas inside you, or the tiny hair-like cilia sweeping your windpipe, or simply moving your jaw to speak. Locomotion, on the other hand, strictly requires a change in physical position or location. Walking, running, swimming, that is locomotion.
Section 2. Inside the muscle machine, the engines of the body. Now, let's zoom in and meet the primary engines driving every single action you take, whether it's just a subtle movement or full-blown locomotion. We're talking about your muscular system.
639. That is the generally accepted number of muscles in your body. Originating from the mesodermal layer during your embryonic development, these highly specialized tissues account for an astounding 40 to 50% of your total body weight. Think about that. Half of you is literally built for pure action.
But, not all of those 639 muscles are created equal. We actually have 3 unique types. Skeletal muscles are voluntary. You consciously control them to flex your limbs, but they fatigue pretty quickly. Then we have smooth muscles, which are involuntary. They silently run your internal organs, like your stomach and eyes, and they tire much, much slower. But check out the cardiac muscle. It's involuntary, found only in the heart, and uniquely branched. Thanks to specialized connections called intercalated discs, your heart muscle literally never takes a break. It never fatigues, because if it did, well, we'd have a serious problem.
If we were to physically cut into a skeletal muscle, we'd see it's nested incredibly efficiently, almost like those Russian stacking dolls, and tightly connected by a tissue layer called fascia. The entire muscle is wrapped in a sheath called the epimysium. Inside that, you've got bundles called fascicles wrapped in paramysium. Inside those bundles are individual muscle fibers wrapped in endomysium, and inside those fibers, that's where you find the microscopic active players, myofilaments known as actin and myosin. It is an absolute architectural masterpiece of nested tubes.
Moving on to section 3, how muscles actually contract, the sliding filament theory. Let's see how all those nested tubes build into the physical action of, say, lifting a dumbbell. We're zooming all the way down to the molecular level to understand the actual spark of movement.
Okay, so this is the sliding filament theory in action. First, a signal from your brain hits the neuromuscular junction. This triggers a massive flood of calcium ions from the muscle storage unit. Now, this calcium is the ultimate biological key. It binds to proteins on the thin actin filament, shifting them right out of the way to expose docking sites. Then ATP, which is your body's cellular energy currency, kicks into gear. It breaks down, releasing pure energy that allows the thick myosin heads to latch onto the actin, form a cross bridge, and actively pull. It is literally a microscopic tug-of-war happening millions of times a second inside you.
Now, here's what's literally mind-blowing about this whole setup. When the muscle contracts, the tiny structural units called sarcomeres shrink down as the filaments slide right over each other. The overlapping zone grows. But the thick myosin band itself, known biologically as the A band, never actually changes its physical size. It simply pulls the thinner actin filaments closer to its center. The engine itself doesn't shrink, it just pulls the ropes.
Section 4, the 206 bone framework, meeting the skeleton. We are now transitioning from those squishy, microscopic muscle engines to our solid, macroscopic biological chassis. It is time to meet our 206 bones.
Now, I know trying to memorize 206 bones sounds super daunting, but to make sense of it all, we neatly divide the skeleton into two major, mathematically satisfying categories: the central protective axial skeleton containing 80 bones, and the outer dynamic appendicular skeleton containing the remaining 126 bones.
Let's start with the core, the axial skeleton. Feel your jawline right now. Go ahead. That's your mandible, which is just one of your 14 facial bones. Overall, your skull has 29 bones, which even includes the free-floating hyoid bone tucked right there in your neck. Moving down, you have 25 bones in your chest. That's your sternum and 12 pairs of ribs, working constantly to protect your heart and lungs. Finally, your vertebral column contains 26 stacked bones housing your crucial spinal cord. These 80 central bones provide your structural integrity. They are your body's absolute ultimate defense system for your vital organs. Then we have the remaining 126 bones that make up your appendicular skeleton, giving you your dynamic interaction with the world. You've got exactly 60 bones in your arms and hands and another 60 bones in your legs and feet. To connect these 120 limb bones to your core, you rely on anchor points called girdles. The pectoral girdle uses 4 shoulder and collar bones to seamlessly attach your arms, while the pelvic girdle uses 2 massive coxal bones to firmly anchor your legs.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 5, joints, where bones meet. Because here is the thing. A solid framework of 206 bones is utterly useless if it can't bend. To actually utilize this incredible skeleton and those 639 muscles we talked about, we need hinges.
Flex your arm, roll your wrist, or rotate your shoulder right now. You are actively using synovial joints. These are the premier joints of movement containing a special synovial fluid bag between the cartilages that gives you that smooth, frictionless motion. Their physical shapes totally dictate your movement. The ball and socket in your shoulder gives a massive 360-degree range. The hinge in your elbow acts just like a door. The pivot in your neck lets you shake your head no. And that incredibly unique saddle joint at the base of your thumb, that's exactly what gives humans our defining opposable grip.
We're going to end on a slightly dark but absolutely fascinating biological mic drop. Have you ever wondered why bodies become stiff after death? It's a process called rigor mortis. Without a living metabolism, the body stops producing ATP. And if you recall from our sliding filament theory earlier, you need the energy of ATP not just to contract a muscle, but to explicitly detach the myosin cross bridges so the muscle can relax. Without new ATP, that molecular connection is permanently locked. It brilliantly illustrates that resting and relaxing your muscles actually takes active cellular energy. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If it takes that much pure cellular energy just to relax a muscle, what other passive things is your biological machine secretly working overtime to achieve right this very second?